Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. My name is Jessica Trimble, and I am the Director of Communication and Outreach here at Indiana Disability Rights. And I am really excited to have Lisa Wells joining us today. Lisa, I will have you introduce yourself and let us know where you work and how long you've been there.
Okay, thank you. My name is Lisa Wells, as Jessica said, and I'm the Executive Director for Down Syndrome Indiana. I've worked here for about 14 years. It was 14 years in May. I love what I do, and I also, my husband's name is Jeff, and I have 4 children now, so.
So you're exhausted a lot. I say I have 2, and I know we are. So,
Yeah.
So you've been at Down Syndrome Indiana for 14 years. What brought you to Down Syndrome Indiana in the first place?
Well, when I was in 7th grade, I started volunteering just at various places, and I have always, ever since then, volunteered and just loved the nonprofit sector. My background is in civic leadership, and then my master's is in strategic leadership, basically. And I love the mission of Down Syndrome Indiana. I love the organization. I love everything about it. And I really mean this, but when I started here, I had a list of what I was looking for in a career, and Down Syndrome Indiana was like every box on that list. So I've been here ever since. I'm very lucky to be here.
Yeah, and to be somewhere for 14 years and see the landscape change and the organization grow. I mean, I can't imagine how much has just changed in the world and in your organization in 14 years.
Yeah.
So, tell me a little bit, what is the mission of Down Syndrome Indiana?
Yeah, so our mission is to enhance the lives of individuals with Down syndrome and their families. And we also advise, educate, encourage, connect, include, and advocate for people with Down syndrome. We serve most of the state. However, there are also many other wonderful Down syndrome organizations in the state as well. So if it's kind of outside of central Indiana, we'll generally refer to their local Down syndrome organization.
Oh, okay. So you kind of serve the whole state, but you also partner a lot with organizations to make sure people have local connections if they're not in central Indiana.
Yes, that is exactly right. So if there is a baby born, let's say in Fort Wayne, and they were to reach out for us for information, we would send information, but we would also refer them to their local Down syndrome organization in Fort Wayne, which happens to be called, I was going to say the acronym, but I'm just going to say the whole thing. So it's Down Syndrome Association of Northeast Indiana. And they are a wonderful organization. So yes, technically we are statewide. However, we recognize the importance of local support.
And what we can do is in the description of this video, I will put a link to Down Syndrome Indiana, and I will also put a link to other chapters. I can do some of those things as well. So that way people can quickly access what's available. So something I have been asking everybody I've interviewed, how has COVID-19 impacted your organization and the services you provide?
That's a good question. So none of us expected COVID-19, and I feel like everybody just had to pivot on a dime and change what they were doing. And so I'm so proud of Down Syndrome Indiana and the staff here and how well they managed that change, because practically overnight we just had to change the way we did everything, and a lot of that meant doing things virtually. So our staff are working virtually, and we had so many events that were in person that had to be canceled. So for us, we really wanted to know, like, how can we still serve and be relevant to our families when so much of what we did was centered around in-person activities? And that's tough, but again, I'm really proud of how well our staff has made the transition. So one activity that has become a favorite of ours is we had a small group for adults with Down syndrome, our self-advocates group. And instead of meeting in person, we started meeting virtually once a week and doing dance parties. And they are so fun. And the people involved, it's just so fun, but I think that's a really good example of how we were able to continue serving our self-advocates, but just kind of change the way that we did it a little bit. And it's become a favorite of our staff, of our adults with Down syndrome, and even several volunteers. So it's been neat, right? And I think that we've all learned a lot in this process about what's important. Yeah.
So you shared that you have at least one group of adults with Down syndrome, your self-advocate group. What other kind of support groups does Down Syndrome Indiana support?
Yeah. So at any given time, we usually have about 10 different groups that will meet on a regular basis. And that we have a group in Lafayette, Terre Haute. We have a group for families whose primary language is Spanish. We have a dad's group. We have a group in Cass County. So there's just a variety of reasons that for our small groups, for our community groups. But basically, again, it comes down to local support. How can we support needs of our families? And I'm really excited because we are just launching our newest group, which is Down Syndrome Indiana's Black Family Village. So it's a group meant to support our Black families, our families of color. And we're real excited about that.
Could you tell me more about how that initiative started and how you are reaching out to the Black community to get engagement and see how Down Syndrome Indiana can meet their needs?
Yes. So it actually started several years. So I started here in 2006. I want to say around 2008, we had a group that was called Minority Family Down Syndrome Network. And that group was active for a while and then was not as active. So we've been trying for years to kind of revive it. And we are so lucky that we've had some really amazing leaders step up and say, like, this really matters to us, this really matters to our community, and we would really like to have this group active again, but we'd really like it to focus on supporting our Black families and just kind of that intersection of what it's like to be not only a person of color, but then to either be a person with Down syndrome or to be the parent of a person with Down syndrome, and kind of what those unique experiences look like. And especially, I think, in this climate, it gives our families like the ability to share their experiences in a way that, you know, if I were trying to lead the group, like, I don't know that I would understand everything, or, you know, it's not my experience is different. And so, so that's kind of the premise behind the group, which we're real excited about, and it's just getting started. I believe there's information on our website and Facebook page, all of that to say I don't know when the next meeting will be, but that's an initiative that we're just really excited about.
Well, and that's another thing we can definitely link in the comments and we can share on our social media, because I'm excited for you. I think that's a great, I've always been, had so much respect for Down Syndrome Indiana, because I've only been here at Indiana Disability Rights since 2015, but I always knew you had a Spanish speaking support group. And I always thought, oh, that's so great. And I'm so impressed, because obviously your experiences are so different if Spanish is your first language. It just is. So to continually add opportunities for people to self-identify and say, that's the kind of group I need, that's the kind of support I need. And for Down Syndrome Indiana to recognize that, you know, we want to support this. We're not necessarily going to lead it because that's not our lived experience, but we want to support this community any way we can to be able to get what they need to live the life they choose. So how have you been finding your leaders, or have they been volunteers? Or share a little bit about, I'm very excited about this too. Share a little bit about how you've connected with these great leaders who have been, because you're right, you can only do so much if the community doesn't want it, or if the community doesn't have leaders, which is hard. We know everybody's really busy, but I'd love to hear more about your volunteers that are really making this happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Down Syndrome Indiana relies a lot on volunteers. I cannot stress that enough. We are so fortunate, and I think, again, that's something that I love about our organization is, as I get to know our families and I get to know our volunteers, I'm just constantly like blown away by the amount of knowledge and talent and like the amazing people that are in our community, and then I get to be a part of it. So our community group leaders are parents and or family members of individuals with Down syndrome, and sometimes it's, you know, through conversations and finding out where someone's passion lies, and then being able to connect them into, you know, kind of that fit that will take our organization further, but also help them realize their goals, either for the organization, for their family, you know, or personally. And those are always proud moments for me when you find that fit and you're like, oh my gosh, that was amazing.
Yeah, so is this group, I assume it's virtual, is this group centered in Central Indiana for now, or is it kind of have a statewide reach, and then you're going to see maybe how it morphs into maybe local groups, or what's kind of, I guess there's no plan, right? I mean, you have a plan, but you kind of also have to see organically who joins, and like you said, mm-hmm. what their passions are and how they want the organization to support them.
Right. And I think you're very right. Our families right now, I think, are mostly in central Indiana. However, because this is on social media, I do think that we can have a broader reach. Even like we talked about before this webinar started, how in some ways the virtual platform allows you to have a further reach. And I think that's kind of one of the things that we're hoping for here. Yeah, and I think you're right. We're going to kind of find out who's part of it and what everyone's interests are and their passions, and kind of community groups are made to be like that, what that group wants, what that group needs. And each group has its own identity, which is so fun to see. And they kind of all have their own personality, and it's pretty amazing. So yes, I think we've yet to see exactly the personality of this group, but I'm very excited about it. And even on that note, one of the items that we've learned, and I suppose we've known it, but then we got a little lax and we have to be much more intentional about it, is, even representation. And we have a diversity, equity, and inclusion advisory group that is really helping me look at our organization as a whole and just kind of like systematically go through, like, how are we doing in this area? And it's not just about, race and ethnicity. It's about our ages and, like socioeconomic classes. Like, are we being inclusive? And, so where I was going with that is one of the, kind of items that was brought up to us was that we really need to make sure that our website, our new parent information is representative of all of our family, inclusive of all of our families. And so I also am excited because I know this, our Black Family Village group is going to help us like identify areas where we can improve as an organization. So I think it's going to be a win-win in that the group will help serve the needs of the families, but they in turn will help us better understand needs of our families.
And that's so exciting to hear, because I think Indiana Disability Rights is in the same space, right? We are trying, we know we have gaps in our knowledge, we know we have gaps in our experience, and we want to do better. We want to provide our services in a way that's accessible to the, for lack of a better term, the end user, right? We want to make sure it works for them, not saying like, well, we only do it one way. And if you fit with us, you fit with us. If you don't, you don't. So it sounds like we're all kind of going through this space of continued education and continued opportunities to recognize what we do well, and honestly, what areas we don't do well. And I think that's, exciting to see Down Syndrome Indiana having that advisory group. How long have you had that advisory group?
We started the group earlier this summer. Well, now I guess it's fall, but I'd say probably around June is when we started meeting. And so it's fairly new, but it's just been really, really helpful. I'm very thankful for all of our amazing and wise participants that are part of it, and allowing me the space to ask questions, allowing me like a very safe space to ask questions like, how can we do better? Or so it's been good. Thank you.
Yeah, it's always so valuable to find people who will give honest feedback, and it's not as easy as people think to get that honest feedback, because you have to build that trust, right? They have to trust that you really want it and that you're going to do something with it. So building that rapport, I think, takes time. And I think I think a lot of people are more aware of the need for this, but we also have to recognize that it's a relationship building opportunity that takes time. You can't just pull a focus group in a room once, people you don't know, and expect them to miraculously share everything that's super meaningful. It takes time. So I'm really excited to see where this journey takes Down Syndrome Indiana, and how awesome that you have people, like you said, volunteers, I mean, giving of their time when, you know, they could do whatever they want with it. So the fact that they're using it to serve in Indiana with Down syndrome and their families is, it's an incredible gift. That's really fantastic.
Yeah, agreed. Thank you.
So looking forward, since we do not have a crystal ball to tell us what's going to be happening, what are some of your organizational goals for the rest of 2020 and kind of leading into 2021, which I hate to say isn't that far away?
It's not that far away. You're exactly right. And I'm a planner by nature. So we've already kind of drafted our 2021 budget, and you know we're getting ready for next year. And what do we want it to look like? I am excited about some additional initiatives that we are looking at. So I talked about our Down Syndrome Indiana Black Family Villages. We've also heard a lot about the need for education within our community of adults with Down syndrome on like healthy relationships, boundaries, etc. And so we are piloting a program. It's called Circles. It's a curriculum, and it's all about like healthy relationships, boundary setting. For example, you know, it talks about like how important you are as an individual, and like it's up to you who is allowed into your space, and just kind of identifying, you know, who are those close personal friends of yours, and who are strangers that you don't have to hug just because they say hi to you. You know, as we've seen over time, there are some scary statistics on abuse within the disability community. And so our hope is that we can begin providing information and training to kind of, my hope is that we're part of the solution, right? We don't have all of the answers, but I thought if we can start here, even if it starts small, I'd really like to be part of the solution of helping to hopefully prevent some of that from happening. And if we can, you know, we don't necessarily, statistics on prevention are very hard, right? Or metrics on prevention can be very difficult, but we're going to try. So that's definitely one initiative we're very excited about. Another initiative, we hear a lot about mental health. And so over time, you know, we as Down Syndrome Indiana really try to provide information and resources to our families. We can connect our families one-on-one with parents, you know, just to like ask questions, give advice through our First Call program. We have our small groups. We have large gatherings of people. But over the years, we have certainly had some of our families say like, this is great, but I need like just a little bit more. And so what we're working on is, I hesitate to say a program in counseling, but what we'd like to do is really identify some, again, we're very volunteer based. And so what we're doing is identifying licensed mental health counselors in our community who are willing to meet with our families pro bono, and then to be able to connect them for that extra support. We don't have the capacity to like hire someone in to do that, but we have amazing people within our community, and so we're building that program again to better be able to serve. And then the next program, so we're looking at that launch in November, and then in the beginning of 2021 we're looking at doing a similar program where we have financial advisors who are willing to be connected with our families and help them pro bono. So we're also really excited about that, because that's been another huge need within our community. And I think sometimes, I shouldn't say, oh, I think sometimes, but I know that the cost of meeting with a financial planner to put together, you know, items can definitely be a barrier and prevent our families from some long-term planning that they really want to do, but maybe just don't have the ability to at this time. So that's a couple things we're looking at into the future that we are excited about.
That's awesome. Like, I love the idea that you're not, yes, you obviously are, you know, your name is Down Syndrome Indiana. So you're obviously supporting individuals with Down syndrome and their families, but looking at them as whole people and whole families, right? Not just serving a certain part. But I mean, yeah, finances are so overwhelming. I mean, just in general for anyone. And then also finding someone that you trust. I mean, the challenge of trying to vet people, I mean, that's just time and energy and potentially resources you just don't have. So you guys are really busy.
Thank you. We're trying very hard.
Yeah, this is really exciting. I'm so excited to get this interview out there and share with people. Lisa, is there anything else that you'd like to share that's been going on, or any messages that you want to share with the community you serve, or maybe people who haven't worked with you before and might be interested in learning more about Down Syndrome Indiana?
Yeah, you know, we are here for all of our families who have a loved one with Down syndrome. And I would say, if you're not familiar with our organization, please reach out. Our staff are just wonderful and dedicated. Like, I have never worked with a group of more dedicated people, and we're here for you, and we want to help, and we want to be a resource. And I also want to thank you, Jessica, for allowing us to be part of this series. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate how supportive you are of our organization. So I'm very honored that you chose to include us. Thank you.
Oh, no, we're so grateful for you. We're grateful for our interpreters. This has been a joy for me, as I shared before we started recording. If I could interview interesting people all day long as my job, that's what I would do. I love learning about what's going on. I love learning what people are passionate about. And I think that's what's so exciting about these interviews is you can see every interview we've had, you can see their passion for what they do. Nobody is, I've yet to interview somebody that was forced into a job or took it because they had to. Like, that's the beauty. I get to interview people who love what they do. So it makes doing this interesting and fun. So I'm really excited to share everything with the community. And like I said, we'll put all these links in the video description below. And with that, thank you so much, Lisa, for your time. Thank you, Diane and Amy, for interpreting. As always, you're always so appreciative. And with that, we will talk to everybody later.